Good morning, Bustleton! That's a city in Western Australia, according to this map on my phone. And welcome to Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 6. 2 of 1, that's what it's called. Ukrainian Scrimshaw, yes, I'm glad you make it. We noticed you were gone. There were like 2 whole Doctor Who references in the episode last week. Right, so today, I thought my keyboard wasn't working. Sometimes this happens, like the control key gets stuck, so I can't type. I found out like a minute or two, it wasn't plugged in, which was the problem. And I was gonna put on some TNG engine hum, just when I was live but not talking. You know, during the setup, I thought, wouldn't that be fun? And so I hastily got that together. That's what we're listening to right now. And is this really TNG ambient noise? Like, it is, but it's not really recognizable. I was hoping for the, like, vroom, 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 you know? Does it change? Oh, hang on, there's the most watched bit. What? Why? Why is this the most watched bit? There's a massive jump right here. It's the same. There's like 2 massive jumps. You know what? It's probably because of this. Somehow there gotta be a little bit of a jump, and a bunch of people like me in a row went, hang on, what the heck is this massive jump? I've turned that off. I would have gotten La Serena ambient noise, but I don't think there is any, so I went with TNG. If I mean, Ukrainian Scrimshaw, you know what you're doing, and the YouTube video isn't here. Straighten that up. Need some beep and whirs. No, that's you want some, I'll give you beeps and whirs. Star Trek, boop, engine, hum, noise. I'll give you beeps and burps. Oh, come on. Come on. No, I will not stand with this. This one. Oh my god. Come on. Star Trek, this 12 hours. Come on. Here we go. This one will do it. There we go. Here's your beeps and burps. Yes, today, Episode 6. The episode I gave up for... I'm gonna turn these down a little bit. There's the beep. It's funny, but I love ambient tricorder noises. I've never done that one. I can... Ambient tricorder. Which tricorder? Like, I assume TNG's gonna come up. You're the only one here, so let's just do this for a bit. Let's mute an ad. I'm not gonna stream. That was an ad, by the way, those noises. Oh no, this is like a toy. I don't know. I think it's gonna take me a while to find ambient tricorder background noise. But yeah, no, I can see that. Like TNG tricorder. TOS had the wheelme noise. Either TNG or TNS. I've just realized, hang on. There we go, now I'm recording, so if YouTube ever fails, and we're like decades in the future, and you've discovered me on whatever future platform I have, and this is where the live stream started, I'm sorry. You didn't miss too much. Heard it a long time ago, though. Yeah, it'll take a while to dig up, because it doesn't seem like the most common. It'd be hard to isolate and loop, as opposed to the engine noise, which you can get quite easily. But, 2 of 1, that's what it's called. The episode that I gave up for Picard on. Am I loud? Hang on. What is this? No, I'm good. Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one. I remember this is hard to watch, morally objectable, and having one of the greatest scenes in Star Trek history, which is when Renee consoles Picard. We'll get to there. I think it's near the end of the episode, which is unfortunate because I probably would have liked to spend most of the episode focusing on that. But we're going to try and do this as we've done the other episodes, like as somewhat of an analysis or like much. It's calm, really. When I went back and saw like my reactions to episode 3, where it's like I agree with what I was saying, at least in the descriptions and stuff. Like I didn't sit through the whole video. Like the reason I stopped Picard, which I'm sure I touched on in episode 8, reviewing it at least. Like I stopped watching it, but either way I would have stopped reviewing it. Is because it just wasn't productive. I was getting in front of the mic and I was like shouting about how bad this show was week after week. And I never wanted to be that, both for, like, moral reasons, and also all that's gonna do is attract the, like, modern Star Trek haters, and that's not the community I want. So, you know, we'll kind of look at this, I think, more factually, is what we'll try and do. And yeah, probably get angry. Episode 6, I do believe, was the episode that the description has the webpage for worldwide suicide prevention hotlines, which, you know, that's not a good review of your show. I don't think. Well, then again, it's one of two things. It's either a bad review or it's a fantastic review. If I was doing, like, Vincent and the Doctor, I'd probably have those in the description as well, for completely different reasons. You know what, though? Looking at the timeline, this is the shortest episode of the season so far, so at least we have that. It has that going for it. Anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into a more Ukrainian scrimshaw. I don't know if you went back and saw the video of yesterday's live stream, but we just talked more about how, the little moments and, like, the little people being what changes the world and brings about utopia should have been the focus of this season. Just more examples of that, and that is definitely going into the review, as I nervously keep seeing Microsoft Teams announcements pop up on my phone, and I'm like, look, it's not work hours, but, like, just waiting for the message. It's like, hey, the server's down. You know, like, it's the internal server, but I'm just worried, like, I'll break something and be like, well, I'm kind of committed right now. Shall we get started? Oh no, I moved that. Hang on, let's not get started. The YouTube video doesn't have to know about this. Yes. So, for YouTube, if you're watching this in a playlist, I'm sure this is getting annoying by now, but what we are going to do, what you're going to do is you're going to want to get a copy of Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 6, 2 of 1. We're going to do a countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And then we're going to all hit play on go. I will start off streaming a little bit of audio just to help sync up for the recording. But then it's just going to be my voice. So this will be a very boring video without the episode. And unlike last week, we're going to remember to stop streaming the audio pretty quickly, because I may have forgotten to do that last week. So, if everyone's ready, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. By the way, if you're complaining about my timing, hang on, no, let's restart that. VLC Media did something weird. I think it got delayed by a second. But yeah, so restart, everyone pause, go back to 0. If you're complaining about my timing, I'm literally watching the recording timer on OBS, so I have perfect time. Let's do it again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. That's much better. I feel much better about that one. First time I did it, yeah, the screen
Welcome
flashed
to
weird.
the very end.
It was weird. I didn't trust it.
Not taken.
Previously,
And we don't want to
Trek
ruin
Picard.
this episode. No, this is the best one to listen
When was
to.
it?
2024 in Los Angeles.
There's someone there to help.
My name is Talon. Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah,
I've
we were
devoted my
actually
entire being
quite
to
positive
protecting
about
one
last
individual.
episode.
Your
If you remove the
Agnes.
overarching problems,
Let him go!
I could take
last
his body,
episode was actually
but it's
really
you I
well
want.
paced and functional.
Agnes.
We were positive. I liked that. I want more of
PK
that.
just killed our only way home.
Breaking the
Ukrainian
sanctions convention
scrimshot.
has serious
Yes,
consequences.
agree. Sorry, I was just laughing
For
because
our
like we weren't
children.
really
We have no
positive,
choice but to
like
revoke your
you know,
license
for a
and your
bad
funding.
show, there was a lot of
Sad
positivity.
irony. A geneticist whose daughter
Yes,
has an
agreed. They kept
incurable
monitoring all the
genetic
butterfly
disease.
effects and to be
Sunlight
careful, but
burns
then
like
seemed to
fire.
completely ignore
But
it. Like
you
Raffi
do
reminds
have
everyone,
this.
then breaks a car window and
Analyze
steals
it.
it with 7. This is exactly
like
what
what you
I
see,
went
give me a
into.
call,
Not that
and
specific
maybe
example
You can
necessarily,
help me
but
with something that I
the
might.
ignoring of a butterfly effect,
Corey?
which,
No,
you know,
no.
don't... We've been
What do
over
you
as well.
mean?
The timey-wimey
Doesn't mean
doesn't really make a
Picard
lot of
mean anything to
sense.
you?
Like, it wouldn't
Your
have affected
mission
anything in
launches
the
in
prime
3
timeline
days.
anyway.
I'm not
But
sure Renee will be along.
the fact that we see these things
you
and
ready
we
for
don't
this?
see any
We're gonna choke when they
consequences
need you.
um,
Because lives depend on it. And that's
just
gas
goes
me.
against
So
that.
no rope
It's the
mission,
little
no
moments and the
Renee,
little people
no
that
hope.
matter.
Everyone hates
Um,
everyone.
We need
You know,
to
saying
stop
little
her from
people
quitting for
intentionally,
next 15
like,
hours.
sort of
She has to go to the
contradictory,
gala
and that's the
tonight.
common thing.
This
The
is a
important
maximum
people, the
security
little
function.
people.
Each
But it's
guest
like,
is
no,
issued a
the
radio
little
frequency
people are the big
invite
ones.
that corresponds to a database of their entire life history.
Yeah.
So we hacked
And
the database.
it's passive.
Girardi
You
will
know,
go
it's
in
one of those
first,
passive
infiltrate
things, but it just...
security, and inject our
Yeah,
IDs
it could have
into
been.
the
The thing
system.
is, even if
It
it was...
worked.
This could have been so much more.
Excellent.
If that was the moral story, like, things would have been so different. Even if all the other problems were still there, it would have been elevated. Been like, you know, that's a good message, like, not done too well, but that was, you know, pretty good. Probably would have been better than season 1, which I quite liked.
Admiral! Rios, is he okay? Stay with us.
Oh yeah, I forgot this
Okay,
ends.
get him to a house.
This starts with the end.
Okay. What about your ship?
But we also have to pay attention if Child Picard is French. If he has a French accent. Because he says mama in the Frenchest way possible. But I would find it hilarious if they explained why Picard's accent is British,
You did it
then made him
again.
French as a kid.
What?
You called me Laris.
I thought you might be an ancestor, but she's Romulan, so didn't seem possible.
You know, your voice does this funny little thing when you say her name. Who is she, anyhow?
Oh, no one of importance.
Thanks for that. Now I know what it looks like when you lie.
I remember complaining in the video that there was something like unnatural or clunky about that dialogue. I don't remember what my complaint
And we
was,
won't
but
have
I
to
did
worry
not
about
get it
facial
this time.
recognition once we're inside.
Girardi?
What's your status? Girardi? Girardi?
I'm in position.
Good. We're ready when you are.
Now I do remember that this escape mechanism
Captured on purpose.
was either
Clever little plan.
weird
You missed
or
that,
like
Curtis.
I thought of a
sure
lot
he
of weird
doesn't
ways
miss
to
you.
get around it.
Picard,
Oh
Girardi,
shoot!
the line.
Dang it, Ukrainian scrimshot! Thank you so much. I said we weren't gonna forget to do that, and then I forgot to do that. Yes, thank you, Ukrainian scrimshot. That was 4 minutes. I might have to do something about that in the video. We'll see what happens to the stream. Shoot. Yeah, that's probably been sitting there a while and I didn't even notice it. We might stop streaming audio. It's a tangent, but I'm actually been kind of surprised with what YouTube is letting me get away with, because I've done some videos that were like almost tests of like it was always fair use, but like where's YouTube consider it? So, like, on the gaming channel, I made all the classic Doctor Who's, and over it, I played, like, the entirety of the Heaven's Ascent speech, that you don't know, from Capaldi. And they were fine with that, which was amazing. It'll be okay, I think you were talking a lot, making it transformative media. That's true, like, I'm not gonna get sued, or, like, in legal trouble, but my worry is just, like, the stream gets taken down or something. I mean, I guess my first copyright strike, you know. But for the video, I might have to do something about that. It was mostly the previously on, though, so, you know, they didn't miss much. But yeah, I think that might have been the last time where I'm gonna stream the start of the audio, because it was messing up the timing. Like, I had it in my head. I'm like, right, mute the audio, and then I messed up the countdown. I said it too. That's what gets me. Here's the real question, though. Could you clearly hear me? Because when I made the video for episode 1, I couldn't hear me at all when the show was playing. And, like, it's a bit quieter now, so I can hear myself think, but that's the real question, is could you hear me? I forgot, there's a lot of jumping around. Like, I never really liked that. I can't think of a time that they've, like, started at the end or the middle and I've liked it. But that's personal. Was that part of the Enterprise logo? Hang on. Not the logo, the intro on the projectors in the background. Like, it was, you know, rocket footage, but I could have sworn there was the not XEV 330. It's, you know, it's the one that's on the ceiling later in the episode. I could have sworn there was that from Enterprise. Actually, I would have given this episode so much more slack if it was the Enterprise intro and the jazz band was playing Faith of the Heart. Side note, though, the Apollo astronauts had gold visors or glass visors. And that's not the glass visor. The Watchers, I think. It's in the name, actually, quite clearly. You know? Oh, wait, no, she is the Watchers. Hang on. That's a point. In my head, it's like some weird, mysterious race. Then, like, Gary 7 and this woman report to them. Is that hierarchy not actually there? Like, Gary 7 had supervisors. But is she, like, one of the actual supervisor people? It's really bothering me that she's not thinking. She's talking to the Borg. Which maybe she doesn't know she can talk to the Borg, but... Right. Right, I was gonna cite drugging her, but no, that comes later. We're gonna analyze exactly why this fails morally. That's what we're gonna do this episode. Until Renee talks to Picard, then I'm gonna go on a speech. I'm the captain, I'm entitled. Oh god, no. More evidence on Rios being the worst captain. Like... A Ukrainian scrimshaw. Right, I thought she was analogous to Gary 7. That's not just a thought, she is. Or at least she's in the same group. Like, Picard directly references Gary 7. So presumably there were some beings watching over her, running things. That line always bothered me from Picard. I don't know, romance fine, I guess it's just weird. I'm not sure what line you're referring to exactly with Picard. Unless it's the Gary 7 one. I mean, here's the thing, you know, Rios, I can understand being, like, kind of enamored by the pomp and circumstance, the rich life of, you know, 21st century elite. I can understand that. The problem is 24th century Rios doesn't understand or see what it's built on top of. You know, the poverty, the yada yada, yeah, I mean, I don't have to explain what's wrong with the world right now. But, like, I grew up, not rich, but my dad definitely has a lot of money. I didn't have really much personal wealth until my own job, but still, you know, I didn't, like, I wasn't personally wealthy. I had, like, enough, but, like, even once I got old enough to, like, understand economic inequality and stuff, could get uncomfortable with that. And, like, Dad didn't earn it in, like, unethical ways. Like, he just has a well-paying job. And, like, he'd do charity stuff. You know, they donate good chunks of it. But still, it's like, I was uncomfortable with being on the high side of that wealth gap. And that Rios isn't even acknowledging it is what's really getting to me. Ukrainian scrimshaw, the who's watching over you line. I didn't get romance out of that. I also, on my first watch through, didn't realize that Dr. Crusher and Picard had a thing going on until they were sharing each other's thoughts, and my reaction was, wow, that came out of nowhere. So, I mean, I think he's, like, just... You know, I took it as he's generally concerned for this living person who, like, yeah, resembles someone he cares about. But that's Picard, you know, like, he's concerned about someone. I mean, I guess it's not, like, the most Picard thing, but it's hardly out of character with that interpretation. Really like Rios' character, but he's saying he loves 21st century, like the scars, etc. But just last episode, wasn't he, yeah, no, that was the big thing. I somehow forgot that. He literally was getting deported by ICE. Like, he knows, like, the horrible underbelly of this America better than most. He knows it better than a lot of people who were in this, like, century. Welcome home.
I nearly peed my pants.
Well, that's on stream now.
You're welcome, stream, for that knowledge.
Oh, here's point one on why this, like, morally doesn't work. The ending, I suppose. You can have it be immoral. And then they go against it, but...
Where's my baby?
He's by my feet. Where he always is.
There he is.
There we go. I don't know. I think that you would still count that as rape towards Girardi. But, sexual assault the minimum, sure. We'll put this on our little bucket of, I mean, for the record, I guess if we want to give it fair, if Girardi goes against the Borg Queen, like, sure for the highs, but against the Borg Queen herself, then there's no moral contradiction there. So I guess we'll have to reserve a point there, because again, I don't actually know what happens to the Borg Queen. Ukrainian Scrimshaw, we realized this yesterday. There's something I don't know about Picard. What happens to the Borg Queen? Oh, look, we get to talk about the good thing. I think we're going to sit back and listen to this scene, by the way, just no commentary. Oh, not this scene. You get to hear me give a moral speech.
Oh, meanwhile, the entire time I was getting changed, I was just singing My Heart Will Go On from Titanic, so...
I didn't even hear.
That was in the background of your stream.
Brent Spiner wrote a song about how he's cast in Picard and something else, about how, I don't remember what it was called. I don't even remember how you could Google it, but it was amazing. The only line I remember is how he was singing about how he didn't have to stay home and masturbate, because he was now, like, in big pictures and stuff, and he was, like, kind of a... Then, that's right, Robert Picardo, the Doctor's actor from Voyager, he made a follow-up video about, like, he was sad and depressed because his show flopped, and, like, I think it's called, like, I Wish I Was Brent Spiner, or, like, I'm Not Brent Spiner, or something. Both are amazing. But it was, like, a sad song about how he wishes he was Brent Spiner, because, like, they both played AIs, but his shows flopped, and, like, Brent Spiner got to go on in movies. Amazing. If you can track either of them down, I'd probably start with Picardo's video. 14 minutes earlier, 1828. Hang on, I'm just gonna 1828 plus 14 min. There we go. Oh, that apostrophe, colon, whatever didn't go. Just realized that you're not gonna know why I typed that until, like, 30 seconds, and it's mistyped. Amazing. Oh, here we go. We're getting to the good scene. His YouTube channel's great. I haven't seen much, but, like, what I have seen of Robert Picardo is great. I remembered, it's Why Was I Not Born, Brent Spiner. That's what the song is. Oh, it was great. I might listen to that after work. Wait, she can... Well, okay, why not? Why can't she do that from Girardi's body? I mean, she gave Girardi super strength, fair enough. Oh god, okay. So I was thinking about what I was gonna say, where, you know, actually it's not as hard to watch as I remember, and I think going in with the mindset of, like, wanting to be more positive really helped. And then she said the word surrender all your dreams tonight, and I remembered what this song is about, and I realized that no. I was even gonna, I think I literally just thought, I can understand why you'd go through this and not realize how horrific it was, but No. I mean, I think they knew how horrific it was. That's why they literally chose such a perfect song. But I don't think they realized how horrific it would be to watch. Do you think this is how she's gonna recruit people into, like, her own hive mind after Picard, is by, like, just giving this performance? In a weird way, like some sort of satirical way, I'd be down for that, actually. It's like in the sands, like, oh, you know, I do want to surrender all my dreams.
That's called adulthood.
What?
Huh?
What?
Don't worry about it.
Chat, what did they say?
Don't tell them.
I recorded this. I could go back.
Nobody tell them until they look back at the recording.
If we want to be absolutely fair, though, I suppose the Borg Queen did not drug Girardi. I think the context seemed to be more that Girardi's body released the endorphins. But now we get to the good scenes, so, you know, we're quiet now. Oh, OV165, that's what it was. Oops. I got a model of it. It's right there. Oh, air engines, yes. So remember that cut right there, actually. I'm going to reference that. So, of course, people complain that I didn't time it, but 5-minute pep talk saved the universe. You know, that's what brought about Utopia. That's what stopped the big bad, was a 5-minute pep talk. I think they're wrong. and that what they're actually complaining about isn't that a 5-minute pep talk stopped the universe. It's that the plot dedicated to saving the universe was 5 minutes and like kind of a side thing. Even in that scene, you know, it kind of ended and pivoted quickly into like a Picard's flashback about his mom. It pivoted into that other plot line. Like this was in the background. Like one of the biggest resolutions was sidelined. Even if they stop Q, you know, she still needs faith in herself that Q's stolen. Now, all that aside, you know, even if I'm all wrong, you're goddamn right a 5-minute pep talk is what took the world from the nightmare dystopia to the utopian Star Trek future. And I'm going to defend that my whole life. Until the day I die, I'm going to defend that. You're goddamn right. That is the most Star Trek thing there is. By the way, 2651, 2651, so that's 30, 26-9. So actually, they were within 14 minutes, whatever the heck it was. I honestly don't remember what they had 14 minutes to do. Here's a question, actually. This isn't gonna work. No, I just remembered. This isn't gonna work because he's synthetic. But Soji was so perfect that, like, you couldn't have realized that she was robotic. So, like, I don't know. I guess maybe she just wasn't defibrillated. Crusher did try and defibrillate Tasha, so, like, they do have that technology. But it was just a little thing I realized, like, huh. I'm sure if you sawed Soji in half, you'd realize she was she wasn't human, but yeah. That is the most Apple-looking Windows product I've ever seen. I'm sorry, I have to point it out. What's that line imply? Like, does she think she's drunk, or does every time he get behind the wheel, he just mows down some people? Well, actually, I will say as well, if you want to talk butterflies, I think one of the biggest sins Picard did was that he gave that 5-minute pep talk, and then Renee watched him get hit by a car. That would put a downer on, like, any 5-minute pep talk. Like, especially, you watch the guy who, like, gave him the pep talk and pulled him out. And just, yeah. Cortical stimulator stat. Is that what they actually use to get into his little mind in next episode? His little mind. I don't know why I said it that way. Oh yeah, she's a good singer, you know, I'll give her that. Give her that as well. I don't know why, but my mind is really fixated where they got those suits and dresses. Well, Serena's low on power.
Replicator.
Like, I'm not sure they replicated it. Maybe the Watcher had some, is my guess. Or, like, she could have obtained some. But I'm fixated on it. I think I said that in my, when I watched this the first time. I went, good guys never say that. I've also just realized that's probably horribly concerning because that line just, like, told her that there are bad guys. Like, you know, that might not have even been in her worldview at this point. The amount of desperate Hispanic people she must get, like, Rios, you know, was probably just some illegal immigrant as far as she knew. Here's a weird question as well, actually. Why is she allowed a computer, or access to this computer? Is that to demonstrate that, like, Windows key L, you could just lock it, but I realized that might do things to my stream? You know what would have been great in this scene is if, it's 2024, right? So, like, if you go back 20, 30 years, you could have brought those photos up in camera quality. Like, you know, the kid was the same age, but was getting, like, a few years more advanced in camera technology until, you know, like, few generation of smartphones in where the cameras are real good. That would have been nice. Well, she sneaks his password, doesn't she? Can't remember. Maybe she does. I'm not exactly the most attentive right now, but... Yeah, I'm sure she probably just sneaks a password. Like, could you imagine if one of those videos was a 1990s webcam? Corey, thank you. I can never remember this woman's name because she's literally just Soji. It's the same character. Maybe this plotline would have been more interesting if I didn't get it from, like, literally her first scene. Because we know he's a geneticist before that, before we see Soji. And I think we reference her not having a mom, like, even quicker. It's like, oh, well, is she cloned then? Like... I do love, though, that that's just Romulan technology, like a Romulan interface. I mean, holographic, you know, way too advanced, but green and, like, Romulan, you know. Oh, man, I remember those old cams. Remember thinking it was the dawn of a new age at the time, and I suppose it kind of was. I'm not old enough to really remember the advancement of camera technology, but I do definitely sometimes stumble upon old YouTube videos, and even from, like, when I was in elementary school, maybe, it's like, wow, this is, like, the best the camera could do, you know. I mean, I guess when I watched YouTube as a kid in high school, it was on, like, an old iPod, so, you know, phones, quote-unquote phones, were smaller back then, but even then, like, that's a small screen. I swear though, I remember my cousin had a Game Boy Advance, I think it was. One of the color ones. It probably have just been a Game Boy Color. And like there was a Kirby or something in color, and I was blown away like, whoa, it's a color game. And like I'm not that old, but having that memory makes me feel very old. My Game Boy was a like SP. It could play color, so I don't know what I was doing, but yeah. You know, if you went and looked, I wonder how much you could actually map, like, Picard Season 2 to Deep Space Nine's final 10 episodes, which were the big arc. 'Cause, like, what is it that's, like... There's something else that was like Deep Space Nine. Not the Sanctuary Districts, but the ending. Maybe I'll think of it. But, this is, like, when they went in Stallone's head, which was in those that 10-part, wasn't it? And then we're done. But, God, what was it in the last 10 episodes? I might think of it, but, yeah, I'll say, here's one thing right off the bat. I really like that the streaming age is giving them, like, these shows more freedom in their runtime, and, like, they can go over if they need to. But even this one is, like, 38 minutes. If this was any, you know, Enterprise or earlier, there would have been like nearly 10 minutes of buffer in the episode. So, you know, that's good. It was probably, again, I think it was paced well. Like, things were happening. Oh, look at all this jumping around that's going to mess me up in the editing when I try and find where that ends. Babylon 5 is very similar to Deep Space Nine. I have heard that. I know, like... one of the guys who was in charge of Deep Space Nine or like helped writing it in the early days left to go make Babylon 5, which was like the show he wanted to make without basically Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek's restrictions. Like that's kind of how it's been told to me. I'll probably watch it at some point. But yes, I've heard that it's just like Deep Space Nine, but what if the writers like the Deep Space Nine that Deep Space Nine wanted to make? But Deep Space Nine is like one of two shows that I would consider perfect. Like there's part of it that's like, you know, quote unquote knockoff Deep Space Nine, or even like if it's better, what is that even? What's that gonna do to poor Deep Space Nine? But yeah, I'm sure I'll watch it. It's like the Orville. Honestly, the big thing about the Orville, I've seen the first season, and only the first season. I didn't watch season 2, because Alex and I were going to watch it together and do like a podcast review thing. But now, the biggest reason I haven't seen it is because Fox Network is one of the companies that doesn't really believe in physical media, and they'll make DVDs, but not Blu-ray. I'm like... I mean, I feel like the Orville is something you should own in HD. But there just isn't. You can't get it. And it's like, if I wait too long, am I going to not be able to own it at all? Or is like, maybe now that it's under Hulu or whoever, maybe somehow it can get a Blu-ray package deal, but I don't know the rights, which is going to make it even worse, like, you know, trying to get Orville after it's not, like, current or popular, but, it'll be one of those things like the 5-ish Doctors in Doctor Who. Ukrainian Scrimshaw, oh my god, when you get to the 50th anniversary, the 5-ish Doctors, if you've never heard of it, it's amazing. Let me know if you haven't heard of it, because I'll sell it to you in an instant, but it's amazing. You also can't own it physically, or even digitally, unless you bought, like, the limited edition UK version of the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. And that's something I really want to get my hands on before it just becomes impossible. It's free online right now. You don't even have to pirate it. It's just on the BBC website. God, that's such a good, such a good short. But, well, movie, whatever. But, I mean, this, I will say, it was not as difficult to watch. It wasn't even really a difficult watch, like I remembered. Might be interesting to go back to the Gorn episode of Strange New Worlds. Ooh. I might try that. Do, like, the Cage and the Gorn episode between Picard and Prodigy. Okay. We might be doing that. Let me know if you want to see me try and go through the Gorn episode again. The one where they murder babies that I've never finished. Kind of weird how Hemmer never shows up in Strange New Worlds after that episode, though. No, I do know what happens. But, yeah, I'll say one of my big arguments that, like, she, you know, the Borg Queen drugs her and, like, literally puppeteers her through the song. I don't think she drugs her. At least that's not the intent. I think I misheard that line. You know, maybe she did or lying, but at that point I'm inserting stuff into the story. I also don't think it was as explicit that the Borg Queen made her do it. If Jurati produced the endorphins, the intent is almost seems to me that Jurati chose to do this and somehow has some sort of newfound confidence being with the Borg, being with the Queen. Which could make what goes on to happen make more sense in universe and be more sensible. I still have, without seeing how it ends, you know, moral problems with this line of thinking. For, like, real-world implications. But it was not as difficult. And also, just, you know, it's done. We can cool down. We can get to the acceptance phase of grief. But, yeah, I'm going to be cooler. But if these last two episodes, you know, if you ignore the problems with the series as a whole, they've been, you know, good. It's kind of like the J.J. Abrams movies back in the day. Like, they're perfectly good, serviceable movies. They're even good movies, you might say, but not great Star Trek. This one's more not great Star Trek just because there's, you know, it's not a story. It's like a piece of a story, and it'd just be a weird episode. If you want this but good Star Trek, watch Bada Bing Bada Bang, you know? I was gonna say that's not moral, but yeah, it is. Cisco goes on a big thing about America, if, like, Vic Fontaine's fine being super racist. So yeah, there we go. Ukrainian Scrimshaw, yeah, my takes are diff than the online community on Star Trek. My top three are Voyager is greater than Enterprise is greater than TNG and Lower Decks. Yes, that is different. Deep Space Nine had a lot of things going against it for me. A lot of religion, a non-Federation station, based on war, etc. I'm curious if Deep Space Nine you watch as a current Star Trek or not. I'm also curious the last time you saw it, actually, because it's definitely improved with time. But, yeah, Voyager greater than Ent, greater than TNG, Lower Decks. I think I'm gonna have to disagree on Voyager Enterprise greater than TNG. If it's just, like, Season 4, maybe Seasons 3 or 4 of Enterprise, I'd give you that. But, yeah, Voyager's good. You know, it's got good episodes. In some ways, it kind of is the wasted potential. But, to answer your other thing, I know the vast majority of people love Deep Space Nine. I'm kind of like the opinion that of the Star Treks, Deep Space Nine is the best show, but The Next Generation is the best Star Trek. I think I like that. But, yeah, Deep Space Nine... Deep Space Nine does a lot of things that I complain or, like, give modern Star Trek crap about, but I let it slide in Deep Space Nine because of how good the writing is. There are a lot of things that I think are just unforgivable. I don't like spoonheads. I think if they were going to have that racism in the Federation, I think it should have been addressed, or even acknowledged that, like, it was a thing that was happening. Like, ARR5, they do a war crime. They use those subspace mines, but they acknowledge they're doing it. They don't, like, correct themselves. They don't change their behavior, but they acknowledge how, like, 30 minutes ago, this was the kind of weapon that only the Dominion would be cruel enough to use. And I don't think it ever was addressed. There are some things, I mean, more innocently, I don't like Red Squad. Just the concept of it. Home soil, home front, I'm a little, it's kind of the extenuating circumstances. Like, you can bend the Federation, you can't break it. You have to bend the Federation at times. But I give Deep Space Nine a lot of slack just because the stories it broke the rules in, by and large, are so well written, tell such great stories that they're just so compelling. I can get past it. Deep Space Nine, watch it again over pandemic. Still not my fave. That's fine. I was just curious. If it'd been a while, I would have suggested you give it another go. For in true Star Trek fashion, it has some really great episodes. Love the Cisco Nog episode where he asked for a letter of recommendation. I don't remember the episode too much, but yes, Nog has a great little arc. Nog, especially when that starts, when Nog starts going after Starfleet. But yeah, Voyager greater than End. I'm still... The thing about Enterprise is its first 2 seasons, they're perfectly fine. It's good Star Trek on your first go, because you don't know what's happening. But seasons 1 and 2 of Enterprise are all basically redos of stories we've seen before. With exceptions, I'm sure if I went and looked at a list. And so it's like, I've seen this, great. Even like Odo's here again, shows up. Like, yeah, I've seen Odo. So, you spend season 1 and 2 just kind of waiting for the Xindi to show up. Xindi arc, it's great. It is mystery box storytelling done right, because from, like, episode 1 of the Xindi, it's not we have to go stop them. It's not we're at war. It's not we have to figure out what happens. It's Jonathan Archer, your mission is to go to the Expanse and make peace. There's not even, like, a thought of, like, fighting back. It's like, this is a misunderstanding. It's a peaceful mission. But more importantly, that's not the plot of Season 3 of Enterprise. The plot isn't the Xindi and the Delphic Expanse and that mystery, which is, by the way, phenomenally written. You were always on pace with the characters, or, like, seconds ahead. Like, that's how it should be. You get to realize you have to have the, oh my god, it's fitting together, with the spheres, the everything, it's amazing. But that's not what their season's about, because if that's what it was about, it'd be boring on a rewatch, like Picard Season 1, like some of the Discovery Season 3 even fell a lot on a rewatch for me. What Season 3 of Enterprise is about is what will humanity do and how will humanity react, and how will these people with different viewpoints, like Trip losing his sister, the Mako, the military minds, Archer, the idealist, the Vulcan, how will they react in this situation? And that's what Season 3 of Enterprise is about. How far will humanity go? How far should humanity go? And that gives it the moral questions, the debate, and it makes it still have something on a rewatch. Less, sure, because you know the answers, you know the mystery, but it's still an amazing, like, it's just, instead of having 2 great foundations, you have 1. That's better than some shows. But Voyager is a lot of, like, it's got great episodes of Star Trek, and it's the episodic, it's got duds, it's got, good middle lines, it's a solid Star Trek. It's the Star Trek that's gonna, like, waver the most, like, it's the most roller coaster kind of Star Trek, but it doesn't have any of that, like, bigger arcs or bigger things going on. Even Deep Space Nine, Next Generation would have, like, the Klingon war arcs and, Data lore arcs. They'd have the little mini arcs. And Voyager never really did. And so in ways there's missed potential. But next to Deep Space Nine, I think it did need to be that, like, episodic-y story thing. Like, Year of Hell is interesting, but would I have wanted to watch a Year of Hell? That, especially next to Deep Space Nine, with Voyager, I don't think would have been as tightly written as Deep Space Nine in those dark circumstances, specifically. But it's got fantastic. I'll always remember the review of, I believe it's not Half a Life, Real Life, the one where the Doctor has a holographic family. It was a review I read where the quote was, it's an episode where everybody cries. I cried, my wife cried, my houseplant cried, everybody cried. And it's like, yes, just the words. Shit, what are the words? It's the words, isn't it? Is that why I can't feel my legs? Every time will just get me to start tearing up. They're fantastic Voyager episodes. But it's so hard for me to say which is better. Because Enterprise is, like, the latter Enterprise is probably better than Voyager as a whole. But, like, I don't know, the best of Voyager and the best of Enterprise can go toe-to-toe. And they were just doing different things. So it's really hard for me to rank. But yeah, it to me, like, TNG and Deep Space Nine, it's similar. They're both up there for different reasons. Next Generation, best Star Trek. Deep Space Nine, better show. Like, just without the Star Trek context, it's a better show, but it's still probably this, like, second best Star Trek. One day I'm sure I'll do a rank. Someone asked for it. I remembered recently someone asked me to do a ranking ages ago. I was like, yeah, I'll put it on the list. Technically, I haven't made a main channel video since then, but I'll have to at some point. Ukrainian Scrimshaw. Well, I would argue, like a lot of shows around the turn of the millennia, it was a combo of episodic and serialized, like Tom and B'Elanna relationship, the Delta Flyer, and more. I wouldn't consider the Delta Flyer an arc. I think it was an episode that they then had the ship for. You're absolutely right about Tom and B'Elanna. But, unlike the other shows, I can throw just as many missed arcs right back at you. The Maquis instantly became Starfleet. And this was like all things Rick Berman rejected, as opposed to some harsh, some fragile truce. They just instantly, bam, were Starfleet. The Year of Hell, of course, was supposed to be a season. It just wasn't. Maybe these are good things. Maybe they're... Oh, yeah, and the whole thing, like, Voyager never really suffered. Other than the Year of Hell, it never suffered from being away from the Federation. It was always pristine. It never degraded. They installed, like, hydroponics at the start, but other than that, it never changed, other than what holo program they would run. And that's what the missed opportunity, that so many people quote is. But, sandwiched between Deep Space Nine and Enterprise, and even Next Generation, it's probably the least serialized Star Trek after TOS and TAS, of course. Let's see. Ukrainian Scrimshaw. My favorite Doctor episode was definitely Living Witness. Yeah, I know, the one with a copy of him way in the future. It's been a while. That's a good one. That's definitely a good one. I don't own a Warship Voyager. I think I missed out on that one. But annoyingly, I think I bought it from Eaglemoss, then they went bankrupt. I was going to quote one. The one I always really like. It's not even, like, the best episode. I don't even know if it's a great episode, but conceptually is, I don't remember the name, but it's the one where they come across the planet that's spinning really, really fast, and so they get stuck. And so they're there for, like, a day. but on the planet's point of view, it's like a new star, and it's like the entire history of this civilization and how they view this star, from like a god to, creating a religion to telescopes revealing what it is, and all the while since the day it appeared, it's got like earthquakes. It's destabilizing the planet. There's horrible earthquakes. Like the Industrial Revolution is entirely changed. Like so much of this planet's production is going into like reinforced infrastructure. Conceptually, I love that. The Orville has a similar one, where like a similar timey-wimey planet episode. But I love that conceptually. The two concepts I love that I don't think you could really do justice unless they were their own show, which, yes, I would love this show. It would become my favorite Star Trek if it's well written. Are something from like the entire history of the civilization. Like we stick with this one civilization for its forever, basically. And solar systems where more than one planet is inhabited with native life. You kind of get this in Symbiosis, the TNG episode Lower Decks went back to, where one had a drug addiction on a drug the other planet was producing. But like a great show for me would be a combo of the two. Like they're roughly the same technological advancement, but kind of goes back and forth. And so they know the planet's there forever, but, once they get telescopes, they can start seeing more and more signs of life. And, like, how does that affect these species? Like, they'll know of each other ages before they can communicate. They'll suspect each other more than they can know. They can communicate well before they can visit. And, like, what if they're in like a Cold War-y scenario, or like does it strive them to reach for each other? Is space technology a way ahead of everything else? I'd love those concepts, and they're two that never really get explored that frequently. When you get dual species, it's always like just setup, basically, like in Symbiosis. It's like, oh, that's interesting, and we move on. I'll get to your comment in a sec, Ukrainian Scrimshaw, but the other one that gets me is humanity is the only surviving species of Homo sapiens are the only surviving human species on Earth. That's fucking weird. Like, science doesn't really know why we're the only ones. We don't know why a lot of them get extinct, and we have theories, but, like, all of them? And with the exception of the Xindi, notable exception, it's weird that basically every planet has that, where there is a dominant species. I think it would be really interesting for some universe to explore the idea that this is very weird. And when we go out in the universe, it's normal to have like 4, 5, 6 different species that, like, related species, like human, Neanderthals, whatever. Human is not a species. It's like a genus, whatever. It's like, we're just the only one left. And I think it'd be weird. Like, how would they judge us? Would, like, some of the utopian ones think we were more warlike? We just killed each other off till there was only one? Like, I think it would be interesting. Because, like, that's weird. If aliens really exist, I can't imagine that it's normal to just have one dominant species. It's weird we're the only ones, the only humans left. Ukrainian Scrimshaw. Yes, great episode. Blink of the Eye. Yes, Blink of an Eye. That is the name of the episode. Also a good fun one for the Doctor's Virtuoso, where the planet has never heard music and the Doctor is a superstar, ends up eating humble pie. Yes, that's a fun one. Some people complain that Voyager became the Janeway 7 and Doctor show, but Janeway 7 and Doctor were the best characters. And like Robert Picardo, the Doctor, was the best rounded character of like the whole TNG cast. you know, all their performances were great, but Robert Picardo as well, the way he played it, what he was playing, the Doctor was the best part about Voyager. I think it's not a controversial thing to say, and he's definitely one of the best things, like Seven, Janeway, Doctor. He's the only one we're missing. Between Janeway and Seven have come back. We need the Doctor, you know? Like, someone convince Robert Picardo to show up. He could do it in, well, not any. He couldn't show up in Strange New Worlds. That would be weird. But he could show up anywhere else. Yeah, I mean, there's good ones. I'm sure I really like this idea, talking about these old episodes, of going back through the classics, finding some regular time. We could just do one a week or whatever. I've thought, rather than starting TOS and just kind of going through by seasons, I've wondered if I should do a chronological watch through, because then we'd also catch things like Early Discovery, first season of Lower Deck, because I'd like eventually to cover every episode I haven't reviewed. So all the classics and then everything before Lower Deck season 2. I think that would be fun. But if we start with TOS, first off, if we do Enterprise, I'd be more spoiler-ish next to Alex. Enterprise is way more episodic, so I can do like a few episodes every few months now before we have that regular time, like between shows. And Alex has seen TOS, which means not only am I completely free to talk about it, they can join us for some. For example, there's no way I'm ever going to review Spock's Brain without Alex, because we both love Spock's Brain. There are a lot of references, especially in those L cars I made, to how Spock's Brain is an amazing episode. The Discovery, one of them, I think season 3, which you can see in Poorly Explained. The numbers at the bottom, some of them are the date that Spock's Brain appeared, and then 10 out of 10. And it's the only, like, backslash in the entire display, is the premiere date of Spock's Brain, 10 out of 10. The Enterprise one, literally one of the panels says, like, Spock's Brain, great episode, wrongly hated, very humorous. It's like a bunch of rank 10 out of 10 in, like, the little font. But we both love Spock's Brain, and yeah, I think that would be fun. People seem to like when Alex shows up. And they won't even be interrupting the stream with weird noises. They'd be a part of it. But yeah, I was wondering if I'd do a second episode today. Probably not, since we just spent, like, not longer than the episode talking, but, like, basically we're probably there in the episode is how long we've spent talking. Yeah, I've realized myself for a couple of years that I would sit down and do a vid for every episode of Star Trek and try and rank them as objectively as possible. No, I couldn't. And realize how monumental a task that would be. It's not the monumentality that would do it for me. When I got through classic Star Trek, and there's not a whole lot of modern on top of that, 7/8 probably just about is like classic Star Trek. The problem is ranking every episode, there'll be a point where by the end of that, the first episode I watched was a year ago, and there's no way I can rank them. Like, I can maybe try and gather a top 10, but how long would that short list be? Like 25, 50 episodes? Like, I don't know. It'd still probably take a week or two minimum. And if you factor work in, like, to get through them all and trying to rank them, I could never take a task so big. I could rank classic if I really sat down and tried. If you asked me in a year, it'd probably change. Adding modern in, the problem is the shows often do different things, like we just discussed with Voyager and Enterprise. If you just limit it to the classics, it's hard. Now with modern Star Trek, the whole point is they're all doing vastly different things. So it helps that there's a lot of Discovery and Picard I really don't like. But actually, no, it's lower in best to worst. It's Lower Decks, Prodigy, Strange New Worlds, Discovery, Picard. Maybe swap Strange New Worlds and Discovery. But actually, yeah, no, that's easy. Modern Star Trek. Whoops, there you go. But yeah, like it's still difficult, even that list, to try and come up. And then if I try and slot those into classic Star Trek, I don't think all of classic Star Trek is better than all of modern Star Trek at the series level. I don't think that's true anymore. But, like, where? And how? As I said before, which Star Trek is the best show is a different question to which Star Trek is the best Star Trek. Like, already Deep Space Nine and TNG will swap places on that list. Yeah. Alex is good people. Thank you. They're not here yet. Right now, but I'll let them know. And yeah, right, it would be a labor of love and take a couple of years, if not more. There is someone, actually, a guy who's writing a book, I think it's Adventures in Time and Space, maybe Space and Time, where he literally went and reviewed every episode of Doctor Who. And I know it because the foreword is written by Daniel Hardcastle, who did Fuck Yeah, Doctor Who, I mentioned, and wants to run Doctor Who. He wants to be the showrunner. I hope he makes it. It'd be kind of surreal, because I grew up watching him on YouTube, but, yeah. I could do that. I could review every episode. That's what I kind of like to do, but, even then it changes. Like, this has shown, you know, I've changed opinions on some things. I have different reactions watching the episodes of Picard now than I did, like, 5 months ago. Wow, that's a lot of Who. I believe... Let me check this, actually. There's actually about the same amount of Star Trek and Doctor Who. Of Doctor Who episodes. I happen to know there are 873 installments of Star Trek. If I go down to Power of the Doctor, last I checked, there was more Doctor Who than Star Trek, but Star Trek is released faster, so it was gonna be overtaken pretty soon. There are 300 stories. Okay, how many episodes of Doctor Who are there? 862 for Who? Oh, Star Trek has just surpassed it then. As of the 23rd of October, actually no, as of the 23rd of October 2022, 871 episodes of Doctor Who have aired. But there are 3 Jodie Whittaker specials. Oh, hang on. Doctor Who Legend of the Sea Devils. I think they might be tied. Or Star Trek is winning by 1. When did Legends of the Sea Devils come out? Hang on. Legend of the Sea Devils was April. So there is 1 more episode of Star Trek than there is of Doctor Who, if you go by the Memory Alpha count for Doctor Who. And I feel like there was a complaint I had about Memory Alpha. Like, some of the parts 1 and 2 are counted as 2 episodes, I think. So, like, actually, what it might come down to is Prodigy episode 1 episode or 2. Because on Paramount Plus, it is titled episodes 1 and 2, but they release together. You could say similar things for the other series, like Farpoint or whatever, but there is currently 1 more episode of Star Trek than Doctor Who, assuming that this count is correct. But then with Doctor Who, like, I don't know if that's counting shorts. I like Time Crash with the 5th Doctor and David Tennant. It's not really an episode. But so yeah, I think Star Trek literally surpassed Doctor Who with Supernova Part 2. God, I wish I knew that at the time. That would have been amazing for the live stream. I might count that out officially, though, and see. Ooh, wait, no, here's a question. No! Ukrainian Scrimshaw, it's even more tight. Does Shada count as an episode of Doctor Who? That's what it boils down to. How many episodes? Because if Shada isn't counted in that list, then they're tied right now. And Doctor Who's going to win with Picard. Do you count Shada? The story numbers below are meant to guide the program to the context. There's some dispute, for example, whether or not the unfinished serial Shada should be included. No, that's the story count. I think they might be tied. Because, hang on, this is the list I use a lot. Fourth Doctor. Shada. Number in story. Yeah, it's episode 108.5. I don't know if they're counting Shada. Do you want to just count? Oh, hang on. Actually, I can tell you if they're counting Shada right now. There's a much easier way to do this. Shada is season 17. There are 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. 20 episodes in season 17. 20. They're not counting Shada. They're tied. If you count Shada is an episode of Doctor Who, there are exactly as many episodes of Doctor Who in Star Trek. And Picard, season 3, episode 1, is going to put Star Trek in it ahead for what I would imagine is the first time. Maybe Enterprise or Voyager would have stolen that, but that's amazing. There are exactly as many episodes. Granted, a lot of those Doctor Who episodes are shorter, so in terms of the main TV, there is more Star Trek, but Big Finish has written more Doctor Who than the BBC, and that's just Big Finish, so there is way more Doctor Who than there is Star Trek if you want to count everything. But that's amazing. They're tied. Well done. By the way, Ukrainian Scrimshaw, you never mentioned, but the Five-ish Doctors, if you hadn't seen it, is a little, like, hour-long movie written by Peter Davison about how it's the 50th episode of Doctor Who, and the classic Doctors, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and Paul McGann, all want a part in Doctor Who, the anniversary, but, like, the BBC doesn't give a shit about them because, like, they're all classic and old, and it's their journey, like, trying to sneak in, and it's amazingly tongue-in-cheek, so many references, but, like, it's absolutely incredible, and it's just, like... You know, Sylvester McCoy spends the whole time full of himself, like being in the big... you did see the original 5 Doctor episodes. No, the 5-ish Doctors reboot that came out in 2013. Where, like, Sylvester McCoy spending the whole time real cocky because he's in The Hobbit, like, from award-winning director Peter Jackson. Haven't seen the new parody, but sounds hilarious. Yes. Once you get to, like, you know, the 50th anniversary stuff with Matt Smith, definitely go watch the 5-ish Doctors because it is incredible. It's just an amazing celebration of Doctor Who. And it's just so tongue-in-cheek. I would definitely also do this, like, watch the thing with Doctor Who if there was the time, or, like, covered Doctor Who. I could see myself, especially if the channel ever gets big and I start doing this full time, expanding into not Star Trek. But again, it's like Doctor Who, that's a monumental task. But one day in my life, I'm going to just watch through Doctor Who in its entirety again, I'm sure. The problem is Alex and I are watching it now, so at some point I'm going to get caught up to our watch through and it's just going to feel weird. Like, we're on Hartnell. They're still on season 1. But, so, like, I haven't watched any early Hartnell. I think I put on his last episode when I built Lego and I was watching something from every Doctor, but... Yeah, it's weird to me, though. I love the Big Finish monthly adventure ranges, so 5, 6, and 7 are probably the Doctors I've heard of the most. Because I do the monthly adventures. And, like, Big Finish has written more Doctor Who than the BBC. I think I might have even heard more Big Finish Doctor Who than BBC Doctor Who. And that's just a wild thought to me sometimes, that, like... Especially it's 5, 6, and 7, who don't have a lot. Like, they're probably the Doctors I've heard the most in new content. But that's great. If you haven't heard it yet, you're a fan of the classics, the Big Finish stuff. I just did monthly adventures, started at episode 1. I don't know if they're still on Spotify, but they were free on Spotify the first, like, 50, 100. I listened to the first one, then bought, like, the box sets on Big Finish, the little bundles, which, honestly, at the start, are not even that expensive. Was a member of the CIA when... Wait. Was a member of the CIA... Oh. I've seen the second half of this sentence. Was a member of the CIA when I was a kid. The Celestial Intervention Agency, a Doctor Who fan club. I didn't realize... Is that actually in Classic Who? I thought... I thought it was in Big Finish, or, like, maybe Chibnall or something. But yeah, apparently it was in Classic Who. Or the Big Finish audio dramas are older than I think, in my head. Yep. I got into Doctor Who. I think Matt Smith was the Doctor, maybe Tennant, but I was behind, because, like, I started at 9, my cousin got me into it, my mom and I were watching. I stopped, for me, it was actually, like, just before the Pawns left for the first time. I actually think we might have finished season 6. Or no, it was the episode immediately before you find out, like, who River is and everything. I believe we stopped just before season 6 when, like, all the plot points were concluded, which I find hilarious. Because it got taken off of Amazon, which I remember when Capaldi became the... No, I remember when Capaldi regenerated. I can't remember if Capaldi was the Doctor then or not, because I don't remember Capaldi becoming the Doctor. But I'm pretty sure I wasn't watching it that time. Well, and one thing I know for certain is that Doctor Who on Disney Plus is going to be great, because everyone has access to that. 2020... Yep, that's in a few months, God. I see there's a CIA chapter going here in St. Louis on Facebook. Yeah, no Doctor Who clubs or anything. I knew a girl in middle school who was really into Doctor Who as well, actually. That was probably my interaction with the fandom before I was on, like, internet stuff like that. Was a girl I knew in middle school who was really into Doctor Who, and also, I think, ahead of me. But I remember we'd have fun conversations. I know, right? I was thinking about finally resubscribing to Disney Plus just for Who. Yeah, it was so hard to get as an American. I'm so glad I didn't care during Chibnall, because I owned it all physically. I think I even owned the 13th Doctor's first season physically. But then watching it live, like, it's just so hard. But... all the other things that are going to make Doctor Who huge again when it comes back, the fact that it's on Disney Plus, that there's so few people, at least in America, and, you know, sort of Britain gets it already for free. But worldwide, I'd imagine, like, English-speaking world, so few people who would have to get Disney Plus. I don't have Disney Plus, but Alex does. Like, who doesn't know someone with Disney Plus to at least go watch the first episode where Tennant comes back? So that's going to be an absolutely massive episode. It's Russell T Davies, so, like, I'm sure people will stick around for Tennant and Donna. It's not going to be bad. But, like, then it'll be so easy to just watch the Christmas special with Shooty. I'm very confident, yes, there is a Christmas special this year with Shooty. And then just keep going. Like, I think it's going to be bigger than it was before, with Tennant and Smith. Like, because now it's on Disney Plus, so it's just available. You can just go watch it. Funny enough, though, a lot of people will have only known Gallifrey have been destroyed, left, come back for 14, and hang on, you haven't finished. Ignore that. Chibnall does things. Yeah. Where do I go from there? It's gonna be great. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if it's so good that I somehow have to incorporate Doctor Who into these reviews. You know what it's gonna become? Fuck Yeah, Doctor Who would often go back to Star Trek after they talked about Doctor Who, like whatever the modern Star Trek was airing, Discovery or Picard, and address that. You'll get the same, probably, where I review Star Trek, and then we pivot to Doctor Who. We just pivot to, yeah, that's probably, it's okay, I won't remember. Plus, I semi-kept up with the gossip, so I already have a half idea of what happens. Yeah, God, he did damage. Not even in, like, the Timeless Child breaks canon kind of damage. Like, we'll ignore that. It's going to be the next I'm half human, you know? It's never going to be addressed, and it's just not going to be true. But, like, things he did narratively, they're just going to stick around, did damage. And, like, Russell T can bring back the audience that fell off. And let's be honest, a lot of them fell off in Capaldi. That's not even on Chibnall. But, he did damage, which is just kind of sad, but it's Russell T. You know, all Russell T. Davies has done since left is become a better writer. And, yeah, it'll be good. Right, I heard all about that, the Timeless Child debacle. Yeah. I don't like the plot. I don't know if you actually know what it is. I don't like the twist, but it's even worse that it's one of those things where it surmounts to a Wikipedia rewrite. Or actually, I think the biggest problem was the only thing the Timeless Child arc did at the time was set off for a spin-off show that was a prequel to Doctor Who about pre-Hartnell Doctors. Now that we know that the production company is Bad Wolf and very, 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 very safe hands, we're less afraid of selling the rights to Doctor Who to make a probably American spin-off. But honestly, with Russell T, I kind of expect a pre-Hartnell Doctors series anyway. I'd actually would be more surprised if we didn't get a Paul McGann series than if we did. But that's the one point me and Russell T. Davies disagree on, is I don't want a Doctor Who cinematic universe, and my least favorite part of his era is probably the constant Torchwood references, a show I've never had interest in, I never watched, and now that, like, after the Chibnall era and knowing Chibnall was in charge of that show, I will never watch. Because even his episodes before he was showrunner have gotten worse because I can see the Chibnall isms in them, and they stand out much more. And so previously good or even fine episodes are now just, I see what this is going to become. And this isn't a big problem here in this episode, but it is there. And now that I know what you're like as a writer, I can only see the flaws. David Tennant era was great. Some of the last two I saw. But my one gripe is the writing made the Doctor so much more human, like than an advanced alien from Gallifrey. I've never understood this complaint. that the Doctor is too human. First off, I don't think he's, other than like Colin Baker or, okay, I guess there's a fair few classics who they did make to go about Alien. Like, the Doctor was always just kind of a person for me. Like, he knows a lot. And he's got a lot of it. He's got different metabolism stuff that matters, but he's still just like a person. And why is it more human if he, you know, cares about people's lives, if he has qualities that humanity would generally consider like good and decent? It's like the morals he was always campaigning for as the Doctor. In generally, I find every time they've tried to make a Doctor more alien, specifically 6 and 10, what they do is they change his morals to not align as much with those normal human morals, and it doesn't work as well. 6, you know, they fix him in Big Finish, but the problem is every time they do that, they have to soften the Doctor up. 6 and 12 get better after they soften up. Hartnell is really rather similar in that he's a crotchety old man for different reasons, and he softens up. Like, the Doctors who deviate from that are, like, I guess the thing is Tennant generally isn't weird, like Smith, Troughton, or Baker, Tom Baker. So I could see that complaint, but I also don't think it really has to be weird. Like, Peter Davison wasn't very weird. McCoy, even Pertwee, like, he started, his first episode's weird, but plenty of the Doctors aren't weird. And sometimes the, like, extra weird can, you know, you have to do it right, otherwise it's a problem. Like Matt Smith, if you've never seen it, a Ukrainian Scrimshaw, XC, I don't actually know how to say the last name. Fantastic YouTuber. It's like me, but with way more insight. Has a 5-hour Doctor Who review. I would highly recommend. I believe once you finish 13's second season, highly recommend. It's a deconstruction of the whole era and stuff, and it goes into some of like Matt Smith's and Stephen Moffat's like I'm weird, quirky alien that don't really work, but fantastic review and deconstruction of Doctor Who. And the Chibnall era as a whole, where it fails, how it could have gotten better. And I also just recommend her in general. Fantastic. I've never seen a react to Troom video before that had me thinking about moral philosophy and how cleverly it was written. I would highly recommend their videos. And yes, I know 5.5 hour Doctor Who review. It is what you will do that day when you watch the episode, but bookmark it because it's generally fantastic. Didn't realize other people said that. Oh man, I should have read that comment earlier. I mean, I get it. They wanted it to be more up to date with more and more of the times. Yeah, it's a very common thing I hear about the 10th Doctor is he was too human. Or if he's not people's favorite, that is why. There's one channel that has like an hour video on each of the Doctors. Yes, Clever Dick Films. Maybe we're talking about the same thing. No, Clever Dick Films is different. Great series as well, though. Can't wait for Peter Capaldi's episode in like a year. But my thing is, eventually he's going to catch up. Like, surely he can't do a 15th Doctor episode right after he regenerates. You know, you got to give it time, or it's not a retrospective. But JXC, it's like a pink logo, like a pink and yellow logo. You'll see it. Fantastic deconstructions of so many shows, and they did a serious analysis of Lego Star Wars as well. But it's comedy, it's insightful, it's absolutely amazing. If you like me, I imagine you'll love her because it's like this, but way more insightful and with way more effort put into it. This message is held for review. I'm going to accept yes, Clever Dick Films, that's it. Great series. I'll go back and watch through that every now and then. But he doesn't, I don't think he really critiques the Doctors as much. It's a very positive, I'm really going to be fascinated when he gets to Chibnall, which does have a lot to critique. And I like that. I respect that a lot. But most of what I know about the classic behind the scenes is from Clever Dick Films. But JXE is kind of the other side with Chibnall, at least, deconstructions. She has an amazing parody that once you get well enough into Chibnall's era, and maybe after you watch that review, is like a comically poorly written Doctor Who script in the style of Chris Chibnall that is painfully accurate and like so many little details. It's those things where the Community really got me through that era, like the Community making fun of the era. Legitimately, after this, go Google. I'm gonna put her in the chat. Also, a LGBT streamer, not streamer. Actually, they do streams, but great supporting them. Where is my YouTube tab? Oh, it's the live stream tab. That's right. Where? Oh, no. Where's YouTube gone? Did I close? Why did I close my YouTube tab? What kind of idiot am I? That always stays open. JXE. And also, I think they've got like a live stream channel that's a lot of Doctor Who content. Yeah, I recommend their Lego Star Wars one. Even like, I've watched all their videos, and most of them I haven't seen. Like shows I haven't seen, like how Squid Game works so well. It's a lot of my insight into the writing process and what I reference comes from JXE. Literally, they're woohoo True Troom videos. Great. The only ones I haven't seen are the ones where Steven Universe is nearly not a mess and they ruin Steven Universe, because I think that show is beyond perfect, and I think if I listen to JXE tear it apart, he'll be right. And I just won't go through that. But yeah, your homework is to go watch any one of these videos, but probably wait for the 13th Doctor ones till you've seen it, or they're not as good. The Mulan one, that was good. Yeah, go watch these videos. JXE, great creator. A short video about Doctor Who with absolutely no mistakes in it. Never seen it. Oh yeah, they started doing like CinemaSins, but like basically go to the end of those and then just watch everything from that point on, unless you want to watch CinemaSins. I think I'll wrap it up there. Start wrapping it up, because otherwise you won't go watch JXE. We have now definitely talked for almost twice the length of this episode, just after the stream. But that's fine. I like it. I have fun. I don't get to talk about Doctor Who much. The only person I ever knew who watched it was that girl in middle school, and I don't know her anymore. Good deal. Hey, I gotta head out for this night, but good discussion. See, we're both wrapping it up. So remembering to hit the end stream button early because of the pop-up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. Tomorrow, we'll do 2 episodes because we have to. Episodes 7 and 8. But thanks for watching. For sure, take care. And I'll see you next time.